Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into some incredibly fascinating urban planning research to uncover the hidden architecture of our daily commute. Have you ever just stopped and stared at a typical street corner? Really looked at it? We deal with them every single day, sitting in our cars, riding the bus, but we rarely pause to think about the invisible mathematical lines that are literally dictating our every movement.
Just picture your drive or your commute this morning. We've all been there, right? A vehicle right in front of you slams on its brakes to make a turn, or a massive public bus swings dangerously wide into the oncoming lane just to clear the curb. Because honestly, trying to force a 50-foot rectangular box through a sharp right angle is exactly as absurd as it sounds. A delivery truck hesitates, traffic immediately piles up behind it, and suddenly everything becomes this slow, messy negotiation of physical space. It really begs a massive question. Why do these road junctions feel like obstacles instead of a seamless part of the road? If you've ever felt the urge to scream at a poorly designed intersection, trust me, your frustration is completely valid. It happens all over the world every single day.
Okay, let's really dive into this. The root cause of this daily traffic headache, it actually isn't terrible drivers, and it isn't always just too many cars. It's geometry. Specifically, it's the square geometry of the junction itself. A sharp 90-degree angle looks absolutely perfect and orderly on a city planner's paper map. It makes for these neat little grids. But in real traffic, that sharp angle translates directly into structural inefficiency and completely broken flow. And out on the pavement, oh man, it builds into total chaos. Because the corner is perfectly sharp, vehicles literally cannot turn naturally. They're forced to drastically reduce speed. Buses and trucks have to brake heavily just to survive the turn. You'll see trailers end up cutting right into adjacent lanes, basically swallowing up 2 or 3 lanes of space. Drivers naturally overcompensate with sudden jerky steering. And because of all this compounding friction, the entire traffic flow breaks completely at every single intersection. This square geometry disproportionately punishes larger vehicles. So your public buses block space, fire trucks struggle to navigate tight corners, and freight movement grinds to a painfully slow halt. Which leads us to a pretty harsh reality. These junctions, they become massive choke points. What is fundamentally designed to be a smooth connector between point A and point B actually morphs into a structural bottleneck. Congestion builds up exactly in the spot where roads are supposed to seamlessly connect. It's kind of like an engineered failure, just disguised as a normal interception.
So how do we fix it? Well, we have to ditch the messy street-level chaos and bring in clean, continuous engineering. We replace those sharp-angled choke points with engineered turning curves. Now, we aren't talking about decorative, pretty curves just for the sake of aesthetics. We're talking about mathematically designed turning curves that actually allow for continuous, smooth turning movements. The core idea here is that vehicles shouldn't be forced to come to a complete stop or hit the brakes sharply just to change direction. It's all about creating a smooth, flowing turn rather than a forced, rigid corner.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. There's a specific metric driving the math here, 50 kilometers per hour. When the Public Works Department, or PWD, looks at designing these curves, they use this as their standard design speed. Now this doesn't mean every single car must take the turn at exactly 50 kilometers per hour. Rather, it means the junction is mathematically and geometrically planned so that vehicles absolutely can negotiate the turn continuously at that speed under ideal conditions. It's literally planned for fluid movement.
But hey, every single street is different, right? The PWD knows you can't just copy-paste the exact same turning curve onto every single intersection. Instead, they calculate what's called a proportionate curve. They figure out the radius based on the width of the specific road, the local vehicle movement patterns for that particular neighborhood, and the underlying geometry of that exact junction. It's a highly adaptable design that shifts and changes based on the unique environment of the road.
Now we've got to address the elephant in the room here. Our cities, they're already built. In most urban centers, space is highly constrained. We've got historic buildings sitting right on the corners, busy local shops occupying junction edges, and very little breathing room between the road and the sidewalk. We can't exactly wave a magic wand and round off every street corner without running into physical, brick-and-mortar barriers.
So how in the world do we actually fix these tight corners? Well, it takes a logical, step-by-step bureaucratic process. First off, city planners have to carefully identify the specific corners that desperately need these geometric upgrades. Second, to create these proper curves, some corner land might actually need to be acquired by the city. And yes, this is done through eminent domain. Because it directly serves public transport efficiency and vital public safety, it's considered a necessary tool. Finally, we hit the critical piece. Step 3, compensation. The government rightfully compensates the property owners. But instead of completely draining the immediate municipal budget, they use long-term municipal infrastructure bonds.
Let's expand on that financial aspect for a second, because it's kind of the secret engine making this whole thing tick. These municipal bonds act as the ultimate financial lubricant for urban planning. This strategy avoids dropping a massive, immediate cash burden on local governments. It allows for much smoother financial planning by distributing the costs over a long period of time. And what does that mean for us on the road? It means faster implementation. Cities can actually fund and execute multiple junction upgrades across towns simultaneously, all without bankrupting their current budgets.
So the crucial point here is the massive scale of improvements that come from this relatively simple geometric fix. Just consider the compounding benefits, the ripple effect, across different sectors. For everyday traffic, you instantly get fewer sudden breaks, a much smoother flow at junctions, and way less congestion building up. What about heavy vehicles? Well, public buses can finally turn safely and efficiently, and trucks stop invading your lane. In the emergency sector, and this is huge, fire trucks and ambulances get much faster response times. Those are critical, life-saving seconds gained. And economically, we see less fuel wasted sitting in stop-and-go traffic, reduced vehicle wear and tear, and vastly improved logistics efficiency. It is literally an incredible win across the board.
When you put all of this together, it synthesizes down to one really powerful takeaway. Smoother junctions create smoother cities. It's absolutely fascinating how such a small, almost invisible design change at the micro level, just mathematically rounding the edge of a street corner, directly connects to the macro level health, safety, and economic efficiency of the entire urban landscape. And this brings us to a truly profound realization from the source material we're looking at today. Quote, "Roads are not just paths between places. They are systems of movement." When you reframe urban infrastructure that way, you realize that every single inch of asphalt needs to serve that continuous system, because a broken path breaks the entire system. Honestly, it completely changes how you look at city planning during your next commute.
Which leaves us with one final vital thought to chew on. If movement in our cities is constantly forced to stop at every single junction, is the system really working? The next time you find yourself stuck at a 90-degree corner behind a struggling truck, I want you to just observe the geometry around you. Let's start designing roads where turning is smooth, natural, and continuous. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer of the source material. Keep questioning the design of the world around you, and I'll see you next time.